Welcome to Connecting Communities, a Beyond the Blog podcast by the Patterson Foundation. We're here to discuss insights and inspirations from the Suncoast Campaign for grade level reading and more. In each episode, we'll explore how communities can come together to support the success of children and families and to engage the parents, caregivers, educators, and organizers who care so deeply about them. I'm Leah Verier-Dunn, your host today, and we'll be talking about Suncoast Remake Learning Days, a free 15-day hands-on learning festival happening here in the Suncoast region. And to talk about that with us today is Beth Duda, the director of the Suncoast Campaign for grade level reading. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Mine too. So we should have some fun today. I want to dive right in and share that as the director of the campaign, you obviously have been at the helm of all of our initiatives with the Suncoast Campaign for grade level reading. And those initiatives align with the 5 pillars of the campaign: school readiness, attendance, summer learning, family engagement, and health determinants. So for those that are just kind of learning about the campaign for the first time and Remake Learning Days, can you share about Suncoast Remake Learning Days and how it aligns with the work of the campaign?
I would love to. The Patterson Foundation looks at strengthening individuals, organizations, and the community. And that's across all of the initiatives of the Patterson Foundation. So as we are interpreting that through our 5 pillars, we are looking for that widespread community participation in almost everything we do. Certainly we want to touch individuals, but we want to involve organizations as well. And we feel that the more people that are working together for the common good, the faster we are going to be able to create the future that we most want to live in. So as we are addressing learning across the spectrum, but especially that importance of parents and family being engaged in the learning process, Remake Learning Days is a great way to spread that across the community. So we first heard of Remake Learning Days through, I think, a Webersation or a webinar that I was a part of, and I heard Greg Baer from the Grable Foundation in Pittsburgh speak about this learning festival that they had put on where parents and children could learn new things side by side across a lot of different learning themes. And I was very intrigued by it. I think he only had maybe 10 or 15 minutes of an hour-long session. So I had a few questions and reached out and was very pleased that, he returned my phone call right away, and we had a really great conversation about how a learning festival like Remake Learning Days could ignite and help to maintain the motivation and momentum of a community. So we, kind of asked if we could be a community that was involved in it, and were immediately accepted to be the 17th community to put forth Remake Learning Days.
Why is family engagement so important in the sphere of learning? What does it help contribute to it as children and families are growing over time?
We know statistically that family and parent engagement is very important through all aspects of learning. Children who have families that are engaged in learning with them do better on all different kinds of standardized testing. But if we bring it to a human level, it's a wonderful, empowering thing to be able to share the things that light you up with other people. And even more importantly, to be able to share that with people who love you and that you love them. So for a parent to be able to see in real time their children's interest grow and flourish, or for a child to see a parent actively engaged in the learning process, can be a motivating factor for both. And they can discover new things together and learn new things about each other. And, we all learn more about the things we want to learn about. You know, I remember early on, I had a godson who was about 8 years old, and he was very interested in baseball. And we went to a bookstore, and he like picked out this, incredibly difficult text about baseball. And I was thinking, well, this is not going to go well. And it was not a problem because he was so interested in it. And I think for all of us, the things that spark us are the things we want to learn about and the things we want to share about.
Yeah, it's so important for kids to see that learning never stops, no matter the age. And I remember one of the first Remake Learning Days festivals that I attended. I remember my husband flying a drone, and he was in a different part of the room with my kids, and I turned around and I see him flying this drone, and I was like, who's the kid over there? It's just like the youth pours out of these adults when they're there learning with their kids, whether it's their interest that is sparked or their child's, but the way that really just ignites the excitement of learning is so special to witness.
And as you said, learning hopefully is not stopping. If we even look at the past 10 years, what was available 10 years ago compared to what is available now, and then if we project into the future, the jobs and things that are going to keep our the youth of today engaged are things that haven't even been invented yet.
That's so true.
So it's not so much about us giving children, the skills of the things we already know about. It's how can we encourage them to keep learning, to embrace every new thing as it comes down the pike.
Yeah, we've got to keep them and ourselves curious.
Yes, we do.
You talked a little bit about how Remake Learning Days got to our region, which is a wonderful history. Now, this is going to be the 5th festival this year. And at the Patterson Foundation, not everybody knows, but we know here that 5s are a really big deal because so many of our guiding principles are sort of packaged in 5s. So when we're looking at our 5 key actions that we talk about here: connecting, learning, sharing, evolving, and strengthening. How has Suncoast Remake Learning Days really embodied those key actions as a festival?
If we start with connecting, the Patterson Foundation is not putting forth hundreds of events for the community to be involved in. Instead, we are working with community leaders and partners and different organizations, and they are putting forth the event. So as far as connecting, I think this year there are 346 different organizations that are participating in Suncoast Remake Learning Days in one way or another, either by hosting an event or partnering with an event. And as we look at sharing, we're certainly sharing information and helpful hints and tips. We have evolved over the 4 years of the festival. We're coming up on our 5th. Yes. We started in 2022. Our first foray into the festival, we had 150 events that happened across 4 counties in 10 days. And we thought that was pretty good. We had attendance a little north of 10,000 people that first year. And each of the years we have grown and strengthened the work of the festival, which has attracted more people to participate in it, both event hosts and partners, but the community as well. So last year, we had a learning festival of 378 events across our 4 counties in 15 days, and our attendance was 45,900 people. So, the evolving and the strengthening that has happened through that, and all of us have learned from each other as as this has happened. We have learned how to support our event hosts and the public, and how to put forth the festival in such a way that people are learning about it and wanting to participate in it. But also, when you look at all the different kinds of events that have happened, there are so many wonderful, enriching opportunities for families and children. And all of them are free, and all of them are open to the public. And I can't help but think that that strengthens our community in a way that I can think of few other things that are doing that same kind of work.
And I feel like for the years that I've been involved, that the contagious spirit of excitement throughout the families and participants is really equal to that of the hosts and collaborating partners as well. That once you catch the spirit of Suncoast Remake Learning Days, it's like it's with you. And I think it's been so beautiful to watch the evolution of the hosts as they've deepened the learning experiences and really strengthened what they're offering to the community. It's pretty special. One
of the things that we do here on the Suncoast that not all Remake Learning communities do is we have kind of a strengthening program that goes on throughout the year, so that, yes, we're focused on this 15-day festival, but we're bringing folks together to learn things about program content, how to put together a really great experience for families and children. We have workshops or labinars, we call them, on event promotion, how to let your internal circles know about your event, but then also how to spread beyond your existing circles. And we also do a labinar or webversation on how to effectively use social media to put forth your message. So not only are we strengthening skills for the festival, but all of those things that we're talking about are helping to strengthen the organizations beyond the festival.
That's such a wonderful effort. So let's dive into this year a little bit.
Okay.
Because there's juicy details to reveal. How many events are we looking at for this year?
We have 380 events that will happen across our 4-county region. Wow. So that includes DeSoto County, Charlotte County, Sarasota County, and Manatee County. And out of those 380 events, they run the gamut of the learning themes. So we have some events that are centered on the arts. We have some that are centered on outdoor learning. We have some that are makerspace events, either creating something or in some cases taking things apart, tinkering. Is. We also have events that are centered around science, other events that are centered around technology, and then several events that are all about fostering youth voice and giving kind of youth the opportunity to have the driver's seat in putting forth the content and what's happening during the events. So whether you are a family with very little people, there are many events that are structured for toddlers or preschool kids, all the way through seniors in high school. There are events that are happening throughout the 15 days that are very worthwhile for families to participate in, and again, most importantly, free and open to the public.
I was just going to reiterate that, because that sometimes is hard to swallow. Yeah. So the festival, every single event is free, and when you say open to the public, you mean everybody gets to participate.
Absolutely. one of the things that we require for any event that's submitted and accepted into the festival is that it has a hands-on experiential learning component. So the events aren't meant to be something that the kids are doing and all the adults are standing on the sidelines watching, or something that adults are doing and children are watching. Instead, there's an opportunity for everyone to be involved and to create or to learn or experience something that hopefully will be memorable for them and perhaps spark additional learning later on.
And how do people find out about the events? Where do they get the information? Do you have to register for events? How does that work?
So we have an app, and I think that's probably the easiest way for people to learn about all the events in the festival, and that is SRLD 2026. So Suncoast Remake Learning Days 2026. And that's available through Apple or Google Play. You put that in and you can get the app, and the app is in both English and Spanish. Now, another way that many families find enjoyable is the Patterson Foundation actually produces an event guidebook for every year of the festival. And that's currently being typeset and ready to be printed during this conversation. But by the time this podcast is out, the books will be available in many places throughout the community. All of our event hosts will help distribute the books. They'll be available at libraries and all different kinds of places. And that event guidebook lists all the events, and we've seen families love to go through the book and circle the events they'd like to be a part of. And we also have access to all of the event listings on the Suncoast Campaign for Grade Level Reading's website, which is gradeLevelReadingSuncoast.net.
And I have to say, I feel like the app is really great for parents because it's a pocket calendar, so to speak. But the guidebook is so fun and such a great way to initiate the family engagement before the festival even starts. For years, my kids have gotten the book in hand and gone through, and usually they circle about 200 events, so we have to narrow it down at some point. But it's such a fun way to just get them excited for the festival.
Yeah.
Beth, can you tell us, are there any events that have sort of stood out to you this year that you're I know there's so many, but any that we might be able to give people a heads up about?
So I first have to say that as I am scanning through the 380 events, I'm smiling the whole time. So, asking me to select a few events is kind of like asking me to pick my favorite child, which is very, very difficult to do. But there are so many organizations that have stepped forward to do unusual things or things that families would expect to have to pay a certain amount of money to participate in. And so, I'm thinking of the very new Moat Marine facility. There are events that are happening in that facility. So parents will have an opportunity to go there without paying an admission fee. So that's very exciting. Soar and Four in Manatee County on, I think, one of the Wednesdays of Remake Learning Days opens the Bishop Museum, and so families can go there, have hands-on learning opportunities. And not only does that happen during Remake Learning Days, but that's something that happens once a month through those organizations. We have USF Sarasota Manatee doing some wonderful events. The Sheriff's Department in DeSoto County is doing a really fun event where you get to crack the case, which I think is going to be really exciting.
Yes.
We have Cinco de Mayo events that are happening at the golf course in DeSoto County. The big truck event happens in Northport.
Always a favorite.
And that event last year attracted more than 5,000 people. It's held at Cool Today Park, and it's a full day of activities that kids can participate in, hands-on things, but then also hundreds and hundreds of trucks, every kind of truck you can imagine. And not only do the families get to look at the trucks, they can climb inside the trucks. It maybe was the noisiest event I've ever attended because they're honking horns and blaring sirens. But what a joyful way of experiencing learning with each other. It's really fun.
And, I want families to also really understand that there's things for older students and children too, like the Penn Women and the Education Foundation work together for a college essay writing event where they kind of, teach children and their parents how not to drive each other crazy while working on a college essay, which is so helpful. And then I know the Supervisors of Election in Sarasota County is hosting an event where participants will get to go through the elections office and learn about how to vote and why to vote and which just sort of demystifying that process. So there's so many interesting things. There's something for everyone.
Absolutely. Truly. And the events range in size as well as in content. So, if you're a family that wants to have an experience is a little more intimate, there are, activities that you can participate in with maybe, 20 or 30 other people. And then, as I said, events where, 1,000 people or more are going to come. So I think it's really a great way to gauge. And as I was saying that, it reminded me that we have some sensory-friendly events that are happening this year as well, which is great for our families that might have a neurodivergent family member. So rather than, them being frightened of whether or not this is going to work, the whole event will be presented in such a way that all family members can be comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're focused on this year's festival today, but I also know that there's probably someone listening who's like, wait, I could host an event. I have the perfect idea. And it might feel like next year is a long way away, but really we start to work on this pretty early in the season. So share with our listeners how someone who might be interested in being involved as a host or collaborating partner, what they need to look out for in the next several months.
Great. I would be happy to. So first, I would encourage them, go to some events during this year's festival, because you might get ideas that affirm what you're already thinking, or you might get some new ideas as well. We do begin work on next year's festival almost during this year's festival. So one of the things that it's important for us to do to continue to strengthen and learn and evolve is we'll do a listening tour right after this year's festival, where we'll talk to event hosts and partner organizations just to discover if there's anything that we can do or put forth that would help strengthen the overall festival. And then after we get that feedback, we go ahead and put together the plan for next year. So I would say by August, we will have the plan moving forward. And if someone is interested in hosting an event, all they have to do is reach out to us at the Patterson Foundation. They can reach out to you or to me, and we would be happy to let them know. We'll have some information sessions where people can get information about what it means to be an event host and what kinds of things you're agreeing to do if you agree to be an event host. One of the wonderful things about working with the Patterson Foundation is we have a commitment to the folks who step forward and say, I want to be a part of this. So there are some supports available to the organizations. I mentioned some of the training and supports, but there's also some financial supports that are put forth. So in about August, we start to tell people what the plan is for next year, and we pretty much launch at that time. We have many of our events are submitted by mid-December, and then our final deadline this year was the end of January to have all the events put forth, and then we get to work on promoting this year's festival. So a joyful part about being an event host is we've created this ecosystem of people who are interested in children and families and how they're thriving in our community. And because it's pretty much a year-round venture right now, there are plenty of opportunities to learn from each other and to help each other learn. So it's been really affirming to bring all of these like-minded people together to put forth something as exciting as the festival.
And now that we're entering into year 5, I feel like we're really seeing that connective tissue set from year to year, especially with some of our hosts that have been with us for a few years now. It's like they're getting to know each other. They're supporting each other's events. There's cross promotion. There's, somebody hosts one and partners on another and vice versa. And so it's really beautiful to see how that web has been cast and keeps expanding.
And equally as exciting, watching some of those partnerships extend beyond the festival.
Absolutely.
And that's been very exciting to see because, we are all stronger working together than any one of us is working individually.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you feel like we haven't covered that you'd like to make sure we do today?
I do want to encourage people of all ages to participate in this year's festival. It is such a joyful experience, and to attend an event, to learn something new, to see your fellow community members taking part. There's just something really special about it. And, I grew up in a small town in central New York, and that community feeling that I had in that very small town is now like replicated here, even though, we're a much, 4 counties is much bigger than a small town, but it feels like a small town.
Yeah. And I also feel like it's important for people to know that are listening that have been a part of this world, and of people that are listening that are now new to our world, to keep sharing, to share this podcast, to share about Remake Learning Days, because as far as our reach has gone, there's so many families that still have never heard of this festival.
Absolutely.
And as a parent in the community, my kids, we were just telling our visiting family members the other night about the festival, and all my kids kept saying was like, it's just the most fun ever. It's just how they kept describing it. And you see that joy. It is palpable, and you see it on every person's face that comes to one of the events. So I'm hopeful people will keep sharing. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's a pleasure. I truly love Suncoast Remake Learning Days. I love the opportunity for our community to come together and to affirm our belief in children and families, and to see so many organizations, schools, museums, businesses, not-for-profits, cultural centers, all coming together with this intention is remarkable and something that we all should celebrate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, Beth.
It's a pleasure.
The Patterson Foundation's Suncoast Campaign for Grade Level Reading Initiative is a 4-county effort in Charlotte, DeSoto, Manatee, and Sarasota counties in Florida, fostering wide community participation to achieve shared aspirations for the success of families and children. Listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or another streaming service, to learn more about SCGLR and its pillars and programs, visit www.gradelevelreadingsuncoast.net. To learn more about the Patterson Foundation, visit www.thepattersonfoundation.org. For those watching this podcast on YouTube, go ahead and scan the QR code on the screen to learn more or check out the description.